If you're up for a good laugh, be sure to check out my comics on Instagram at JMan's Comic Book Adventures.
Hello. So yeah, this is London Lad Lost in Asia. I guess it's episode 1 of this show. I've actually got some notes here, but they're not like, it's not like a script. I'm not writing a script or doing anything like that. At least not yet. I'm just gonna kind of just go through the main bullet points on this and just kind of give you guys an introduction to who the hell I am, because I reckon with some of the videos I make in the future, people are going to be like, who is this guy? So I'm just going to kind of run down everything about me. I hope that the noise in the background from these trucks doesn't get picked up by my iPhone, but we will see. I wasn't really considering recording that much when I was moved into this apartment, but I like this apartment. Anyway, so me, growing up, I was just this guy who loved cartoons. I actually wrote geek who loves cartoons as a little caption on my bullet points down here. And yeah, I just really like cartoons. Whenever my mum would explain me, she would always say Joseph would never cause problems, because as long as he was in front of the TV watching cartoons like Scooby-Doo, at the time Dragon Ball Z, I would just sit there and just be left alone, and I would not really make that much. I wouldn't make too many noises or much trouble. I would just be glued to the TV. And she would always say that about me. And I was just that guy that loved cartoons from a young age. And eventually what happened one day is that we got a personal computer in our living room. And I remember AOL and dial-up, you remember all those things. And I used to play games on the Cartoon Network site. But I remember when YouTube came out, and I would always look at Dragon Ball Z AMVs, like these Linkin Ball Z AMVs we used to call them, where Linkin Park music would be played to Dragon Ball Z stuff. And what would always happen whenever I played one of these Dragon Ball Z AMVs, Naruto, basically, these Naruto AMVs would come up, and I'd be like, who is this stupid tailed fox fucking creature thing? Who is this? And I never really wanted to click on any of those videos until one day I was just I clicked on one of the videos, and I think I saw a little bit of a fight, and I said, oh, this looks interesting. And basically I started watching Naruto that day, and I was blown away by how awesome that show was. And that was the first anime that I watched that I actually knew was an anime. Dragon Ball Z I watched before, and actually One Piece I watched before Naruto as well. But Naruto was the first anime that I knew was an anime, because I remember looking up Naruto. I think it was one of the games, and then one of the IGN reviewers referred to it as an anime, and I was like, what is an anime? And then I found out what anime was, Japanese cartoons, and it all went downhill from here. But anyway, it actually didn't go downhill, it actually went uphill. I was so into Naruto, and then I got into Bleach, and then I re-found One Piece through the Funimation dub and watched all of Skypiea with the Funimation dub, and I was just in love. This was years ago. But I was so obsessed with these cartoons that I started to make YouTube videos on anime and manga. I have made many different channels before I've made this London Lad Lost in Asian channel. Many different channels. You can go to, I might splice some clips in this video, who knows, when I'm editing. But basically, if you go on YouTube, one of my channels at the moment is called the Shonen Drip. Not all of the videos are up on that channel. Maybe I'll relist them, but if you look on that channel, it's been up for years and years, and it has almost 4,000 subs, because I used to just post loads and loads of videos, and it has millions of views, 4 million views on that channel as well. Because I just used to post loads and loads of videos on anime and manga. I really do think I'm going to relist all of those videos so people can just see them and just know who I am and the background, my origin story. And I just used to post videos, but that was not my first channel. There's a channel before that called The J Zone Productions. I don't know if that big channel's still up, it might have been deleted, but I used to make videos on that, and then I switched over to the current channel that is called the Shonen Drip. It went through many different names before the Shonen Drip. And I've had loads and loads of YouTube channels, but it was all based on anime and manga. And eventually, as I said, this channel that I had got some success. I started making some money off of it. At the time I was in I was like in the end of middle school, like going into sixth form. So I was at the end of secondary school going into sixth form, and I was making like 500-600 quid from my channel every single month. It was ridiculous. I was like, whoa, this is amazing, man. I could be a YouTuber. I kind of thought in the back of my mind, yeah, I could actually do YouTube. But this is where everything starts to go strangely downhill. In a way, anyway. My mum wanted me to go to uni because she felt, she's a Nigerian parent, so she felt like, go to uni, do the uni thing. And what happened was, she was like egging me on to do engineering, and I knew I didn't really want to do engineering. I was like, oh no, I really do not want to do engineering. But she really wanted me to do engineering, so I ended up going to do engineering at Kingston University, where I sat in lectures for 2 or 3 months and realized, wow, this is boring, and anime and video games win. So I eventually just stopped going in altogether. And that was one of the only times in my life, like there's been 2 or 3 times in my life where I've actually genuinely felt depressed. And I can distinctly remember, and one was that, and one was my first breakup, but I can distinctly remember like being completely depressed going into university, because I was like, I don't want to do this stuff. I was already making money doing YouTube at the time, and I just didn't want to do that stuff. So long story short, I went to uni for a while, hid from my mum that I never stopped going into lectures, because sometimes I would just go in, but I wouldn't actually go to the lectures. I just kind of, and again, this is to show you how much they kind of don't care in a way about when I think about uni, because I really want to make a video about my art school experience. Like, and my mum never got informed that I stopped going to uni. And yeah, I get you're an adult, you're over 18. Like at the time but at the time I was 18. I just left like sixth form. Like they didn't know. I had to tell her. No one really cares. Like no one really cares in university. Like they get your, like, because think about it, with these companies, if they get your money, they don't really have an incentive to care. In a way, they don't really have an incentive to care whether you pass or succeed or whatever. Like that's genuinely how I feel about the education system in many ways when it comes to university, and I'll explain more why later on. But yeah, I hid that away from her, and basically, and again, it was my fault. I was being lazy. Maybe I should have nipped that in the bud earlier, but I hid that from her. And eventually what happened was, like halfway throughout the year, I kind of knew that my mum wants me to go to uni, and I don't want to do this sort of like engineering stuff because it's not interesting to me, even though I know it's a very valuable skill, and I know it's a skill that can definitely pay a lot of money, and I know it's something that provides a lot of value to people. But I could just imagine myself doing engineering, and if I went down that path, I feel as though I wouldn't be very happy with where my life would be. And I think, yeah, that I always envisioned that. So halfway through, I was like, you know what, I like this art stuff, because I've been talking about anime and manga. Why don't I go to art school? So within the space of 4 months, I created sort of an art portfolio. I applied to 5 different unis, and negotiated with my mum, and she said, yeah, you can go and do this art thing. And 2 universities accepted me. That one was the University of the Arts London, and one was Cumbria University. I could have gone to Cumbria in the middle of nowhere, and probably Cumbria, it looked like their course, because they wanted me to do a foundation course. They didn't want me to jump straight into doing the whole sort of animation thing. They wanted me to do a foundation. But at the time, I just decided, I want to stay in London because London's awesome, because I am London lad. So I decided to stay in London, and I went to the University of the Arts London to do art school. It was great at first. I was like, wow, I'm finally doing art, blah, blah, blah. It was great. Until I realized the majority of the teachers there were not teaching the stuff that I wanted to learn, and that I knew I needed to learn in order to be successful and be the sort of artist that I want to be. Because there was basically, if you know anything about art, you have the principles of art, like learning composition, perspective, color theory, like all of that stuff. None of that was taught. Like we weren't really taught how to do that. I studied, it was animation I was studying. We did have a month or so where we were on traditional animation tables, but basically all they were doing was they were kind of just like giving us snippets of the book called the Animated Survival Kit, but we weren't really having too many lectures on that. Like we had lectures on like doing walk cycles, but it wasn't very hands-on. It was just kind of like, here's the book, you go through it, right? And that was how I felt like throughout my whole entire art school experience. It was just kind of like, you're independent, you should know how to do this already. And whenever I mentioned that you're not teaching the stuff that we need to learn to be at industry standard, you know, to be a good artist, like these fundamentals, they'll be like, you're expected to know all of that already. And I'm like, what? From a 1-year foundation course, I'm meant to know all of the fundamentals of art? That is completely ridiculous. And they didn't teach us about marketing or creating a personal brand. And again, at this time, I was 17, 18, already making money on YouTube before this whole influencer word thing was a big thing, right? So they weren't teaching me how to elevate even those skills, which now artists, now again, this is a video I want to make. There's the artist, there's the art and the artist. That's a concept that I actually want to talk about. Now artists like heavily rely on their personal brands, and like you have like YouTube animators that are raking in so much money because they know how to do that. But like we were never taught anything like that. It was just, again, and I was paying $9,000 for this. And again, I wanted to drop out, and I did drop out again. And this is where I fucked up. So I dropped out again, dropped out the first 2 times of my university experience. I really wanted to go alone and do my YouTube thing, finally get back to doing YouTube properly, and just be full-time at YouTube. That was what I wanted to do, be full-time at YouTube. I did want to do art as well, and I love art, right? But I also wanted to do this YouTube thing, you know? I wanted to find a way to where I could do both. And I remember at the time, sometimes I would upload speed drawing videos. I remember back then I did like this massive, like sort of One Piece copy study thing. That was one of the videos I did during that time. But silly me, and this is, again, this links into the reason why I'm London lad, lost in Asia, because there's a mistake that I made, but the mistake is kind of the reason why I'm here right now. My mom's a very Christian lady. My pastor and all the people around me were like, go back to uni. Uni's the right thing to do. It's gonna make your life better. Blah de blah blah. They all told me to go back to uni, and some people are probably watching this and saying, yeah, go back to uni, yeah, do the thing. So I went back to uni, right? And it wasn't really great, but I somehow managed to pass through year 1 just by the skin of my teeth. Year 2, I got better, and admittedly, even though they weren't necessarily giving me guidance, my drawing skills were kind of getting better. But honestly, to be perfectly honest, looking back on it, I probably should have failed. Or in all honesty, I probably should have failed. And this is going back to, because again, I will take ownership for the fact that I probably should have failed looking back at these drawing classes in some ways. But at the same time, like, they take your money. If they want more money from you, they'll just take it. So year 2 got better. In the 3rd year, I actually crushed the 3rd year because of my dissertation. I ended up getting a 2-1 from this university, the University of the Arts London. And again, you're getting a 2-1 degree from supposedly one of the best art universities in Europe, right? And you'd think that would really help you to get a job, but you realize that, oh no, it doesn't help you to get a job, right? And again, I got a 2-1, you know? So, and the 2-1 was a lot. It was a lot to do with my dissertation, because like this is some of where I realized certain things about self-improvement. I remember, I can't remember who it was. Maybe I was like watching Eric Thomas videos at the time, or some sort of self-improvement person. But they said like, do a little bit each day. And that's what I did for my dissertation. I did a little bit of my dissertation each and every single day, grinded away at it. I forgot to say, the reason why I was able to do 5 years in uni, because technically I got 5 years in university, was because I realized that I was dyslexic, and you're only allowed 4 years of tuition for university in the UK. They gave me the 5th year because I found out that I'm dyslexic. But anyway, despite that, being dyslexic and all of that stuff, I managed to get a really good grade on my dissertation. My dissertation did really, really well because I concentrated every single day and put time into it. And the topic was actually about, can anime and manga be made outside of Japan? That was the topic. So again, the weeby animation thing and anime and manga thing stayed. But I managed to pass. I graduated, my mom was happy, I was happy, and it was like, woo, wow. You've graduated, you've done your thing, you're amazing now, boom. But then the real world hits and you have to make money. And at the time, I forgot to mention this as well, in my 3rd year of uni, like May time, I got a job at a toy store, which I carried on doing while studying animation. And it was really weird because at some point, I think the 2nd week of that job, I actually, I had to rush to uni to do something for my final year project. Which was kind of a cool project. That's the one good thing that came out of uni in terms of art. Like that final project, looking back on it, it was this zombie sort of cartoon called Braindeads that I did with a couple of mates of mine. That was genuinely a really good project. I always show people that project. It was amazing. Maybe I should have passed because of that. That was an amazing project. But one of the times going to school, like I kind of ran and I kind of hurt my leg. And this will never ever leave me. I kind of ran, I hurt my leg, and I was on the way to uni. I still went all the way to uni, even though, because I ran and fell down the stairs. Actually, I ran, fell down the stairs, and I kind of flopped on my foot, right? And I felt a crack. But despite having that crack on my foot, I walked all the way to uni with that crack on my foot, like that sort of like snap. And I realized midway while I was in uni, I kind of collapsed on the floor, and it was weird. There was this, like, I think she was Chinese, this girl. Like this was before I came to China, but maybe this was a hint of, oh, you're gonna end up in China one day. I don't know. But this girl saw me, international student, and she was like, oh man, what's wrong? Because I kind of fell over at this point, and I was like, my leg, and I was escorted outside of the school because I fractured my leg when I fell down the stairs that time, and I had this massive cast, right? And this was my 2nd week working the toy store job, basically, and I went into work late, and my boss, I will never forget this, he was like, why the fuck are you coming in late on your 2nd week? Why the fuck? He started having a 5-minute tirade about me coming into late, even though that same day was the same day I literally was in the hospital for my fractured foot because I was rushing to university to do my final project. And it was this mayhem of having this problem with my leg, working a job, and just the final dissertation and the project. I remember that 3rd year, the last couple of months were madness, right? And it kind of gave me, that was my first taste of the real world. The real world is like, not saying it's impossible to succeed, but like the real world is not school, and you need to like man up and figure out ways to doing things. Because I remember that, and I was like, fuck, this guy had no sympathy for me whatsoever. He was just like, fucking get to work, you bitch. And I was like, fuck. So anyway, I continued working the toy store job after my 3rd year of uni. And this is where we enter the part-time jobs / chasing chicks saga, but wanting YouTube success. Because I still wanted that YouTube success. I was kind of doing YouTube, but I was kind of, to be honest, let's be honest, I was kind of bullshitting that, because all I was interested in this time, I don't know why, I was a late bloomer, because I graduated at 23. I don't know what happened to me, but all of a sudden when I hit 23, I was horny as fuck. And all I wanted to do was just chase after women. I'm not even gonna lie, I'm being completely and blatantly honest in these videos. I want to be completely honest in these videos and transparent, because I feel as though that is truly what's going to help other people is if I'm completely honest and transparent about my feelings and my thoughts on these things, and I don't censor myself, even if it might seem bad. But yeah, I did a lot of chasing after women in this part of my life. Like the two, I wouldn't say two, it was like the 1 year and 3 months after graduation. Yeah, the 1 year and 3 month period where I was still in London after graduation, it was a lot of just part-time jobs, chasing after girls. Meanwhile, in the back of my head, wanting YouTube success and kind of wanting to be an artist. And I did a lot of that. And there was a lot of failure in this part. There was a lot of just moving from different job to different job and like going on dates and wasting a lot of money and like, oh, there was a lot of failure. But something happened. My mate who was doing his CELTA at the time, I remember one time during our final year, he was taking these CELTA classes. He was making money teaching English, and he told me about that, and I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. I looked into it, and there was this program. It was called Angloville, and it was like where you could teach English to kids in Eastern Europe and different places of the world. And I thought, oh, this is pretty cool. And they pay for you. Basically, they paid for all of your living expenses while you're there. Besides the 2 or 3 days in between your courses that they gave you to travel, you had to pay for your stuff like your food and your drinks. But besides that, they paid for your living expenses while you're in these sort of summer camps, and you had to pay for your flight as well. So I was like, flip, I could go to Poland for like not that much money and like teach kids. And I thought this could be interesting. I did that 3 weeks. I was in Poland for a month, teaching in Poland, and I fell in love with teaching. I thought teaching was pretty cool. Mainly I was teaching oral English. So I was just speaking to the kids. But I was like, wow, this is so cool, right? And again, imagine this was 23-year-old me who was a bit of an idiot. I was just like, wow, I'm teaching kids. It's a fun time. They're learning. I can be a degenerate and drink a lot when I wasn't doing the teaching thing and like chase after chicks and like flirt and stuff like that. And that was my experience of teaching at that time, doing that Angloville thing. It was like, wow, I was actually genuinely serious when I was teaching the kids during the summer camps. And then when we had the 2 or 3 days off, I could be a degenerate and continue doing my sort of chasing chicks activities. And yeah, I did the Angloville program because at the time I realized if I taught in China, I would be able to earn a decent amount of money because, you know, I felt like teaching was really fun. And I realized working these part-time jobs and the jobs I was doing, I wasn't really earning that much, man. I would earn like maybe like some of them £900 a month. Some of them I would earn 1,500. My full-time ones, I'd earn 1,500 a month UK money. And it just wasn't that as much. And again, I was living in London, so there was a lot of expenses, and I was like, wow. And again, I was just really interested in dating, and I was like, man, these dates are expensive as well. I'm not going anywhere. And it was just like, you know what? I was looking at these jobs, and like the minimum I found was like £2,000 a month to teach in China. And of course, it's China. The living costs are way more cheaper than the UK and in London. So I was like, you know what? It wouldn't be a bad idea to just live in China for 1 year. I enjoy teaching as it is because it was really fun. And, you know, because I would have the extra money, I could go out on dates and like go to different places and different restaurants and explore places, and it wouldn't break my bank. Because at the time, I'm not gonna lie, I came to China and I was in a little bit of debt, to be honest, as well. I was stupid. I'm just gonna straight up say some of this stuff. I'm talking about my uni and me. Like I made some stupid mistakes to get to this point, but I'm rectifying those mistakes and I'm just being completely transparent, right? So at that point in time, my obsession was coming to China because I looked at Japan. Japan looked great as well. Okay, because I'm a weeb, right? And I like anime and manga, and I looked at Korea. But China at the time was paying the most amount of money, and I thought, look, I could do 1 year in China, save up some money, and eventually go to Japan, right? That was my sort of thing. So my mission became, let me make my way to China. I already did the Angloville program, which gave me the TEFL. I had a degree, so all I needed to do was apply to jobs in China. So what I did, my next job was teaching kids with autism in London, which was great. I love that job. That's to this day, I think out of all the jobs I've had, that is either my favorite job or my second favorite job. It didn't pay well at all. I was getting like paid £800 a month for full-time work in London. But that was either my second favorite job or my first favorite job. It's a tie between that and my first job in China. My first job in China was great as well. It's a tie. Actually, I think my first job in China wins because of the pay was a bit better and I was teaching adults. And it's hard. But anyway, like, yeah, my mission became getting into China, right? So what I did is I got a job teaching kids with autism because I felt like it would be a lot better for me. I felt like it would be a lot better for me, like my chances of getting into China. So I did that. And again, I loved that job, but it was delayed. I was meant to come to China in sort of like January time, but for some reason that got delayed till February 16th, and I came to China on February 16th, and that's how I became London Lad Lost in Asia, because basically the 1 year trip to China ended up being 3.5 years. A lot to do with the coronavirus, because I had this sort of, if you watch the show Avatar: The Last Airbender, there's like Zuko and he has the crossroads of destiny and he has the big choice of whether he wants to go to the evil side or the good side. I had a choice of whether I wanted to go back home or stay in China, and I chose to stay in China. And that's extended all the way into this time until it's like been 3.5 years since I've been here. The coronavirus is still wild at large here, while the rest of the world seems to slowly be sort of going back to normal, or already are back to normal. I think the UK is back to normal. Thailand seems to be back to normal, but things here aren't. But yeah, it was meant to be this 1 year journey, but it's turned into this long thing. And the reason why I haven't left, again, is coming back to what I said before. I said there was an important point in this long, incoherent ramble that I had to get back to. My family do want me to go back, and I do genuinely want to go back. I miss everybody back home and stuff like that. But I can't help but feel that after doing all of this teaching stuff and doing like what I've done, the fact that I keep coming back to YouTube and keep coming back, and also this channel is about art as well, but the fact that I wanted to do something to do with YouTube and I didn't pursue it, and instead I went to uni those years because my mum said I should. Now that they're telling me to go back and I kind of see an opportunity being here in China, I kind of see this weird sort of opportunity that I could capitalize off of being here for some reason. I kind of want to ignore their advice and spend another year or two here to capitalize on the opportunity I kind of see with doing content and talking about art, but also talking about my story as being this London lad lost in Asia.